All right, welcome everybody to Enhancing the Accountant Bookkeeper Connection series. And we are ready to begin. So we'll move off that slide. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Tanya Hiltz, CPB and AIA, and I am here because I'm passionate about collaboration. And you can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Little bit about me. I am the last, I guess, into a global firm in the future. My team, not me, the team. I've been named as Insightful Accountant Top 100 ProAdvisor for 2018 through 21, and as well Top Canadian ProAdvisor for 2020, founder of Cloud Business Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp, level 5 certified advisor through the Mentor Plus, member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, and a director of CPB Canada. So this is a new quote by the same person that was last month. I did look up a new quote. Coming together is a beginning, staying together is a progress, and working together is a success. And that was by Henry Ford of the Ford Motor Company. So I always try to look for a quote that has to do with collaboration and really working together, because that's what these calls are about. This webinar will qualify for CPD credits through CPB Canada. There will be 2 polls that must both be answered in order to qualify, and the recording of the webinar and your credits will be emailed within 2 days. Just as a note, we've changed things around. If you don't get within 2 days, you don't get the recording, then that means for some reason it's either gone into your spam or you've potentially hit unsubscribe without meaning to. So here's how you get resubscribed if you don't have it by the end of the week. Just go to there, click to go back in, and then it'll confirm. So we've changed the process on that. And again, if you don't get that, just email me directly and we'll take care of that. Excuse me. So we are featuring, of course, Jonathan Carter, who's the founder and principal accountant of KATA Accounting Solutions. We've been collaborating with Jonathan and a team for a number of years, multiple clients, as well as he's my accountant. He works in QBO, has attention to detail and outstanding customer service, which is, what I really love about Jonathan. I know he's accounted to at least one more person on the call. It's up to you if you want to, reveal yourself. But yeah, take it away, Jonathan. I'll stop sharing and you can take over.
Awesome. Thanks. So I feel like I should say, just for clarity's sake, no, Kim, I'm not a certified therapist, but no, this is something that came up in our team. We've seen it from customers who are stressed and being a little bit more ornery than normal. Okay, quick couple things about me. I'm the founder of KATA Accounting Solutions Professional Corporation. I was a member of the inaugural Intuit Accountants Council. I was very lucky there. Got to meet a lot of amazing people early who really helped me on the journey. And I've had a long-standing relationship with Intuit, still working with the work papers group, but it's actually to the point where we think it functions for the most part the way as it should. There are still some things I'd like to see changed about it, but they're, crossing T's, dotting I's, and I'm working with them on it. I was the recipient of the 2018 Inspire Accountant Award. I don't know if that award ever got awarded other than the 1 year, but it was for contributions to the future of the industry. And then we're Elite ProAdvisors. I'm QBO Advanced Certified. All the team is working towards it. All the team is QBO Basic Certified. We're Insightful Accountant 2021, Top 100 ProAdvisors, and we do work with a lot of cloud bookkeeping firms, and we like working with technology companies. Our tagline is communicate, collaborate, and innovate. And one thing that I've learned more and more is we're actually really not great communicators. Despite it being our top value, and we're constantly trying to get better in that, we're not great at it. So that's something that might be in another presentation down the road. So yeah, as I was saying, we've had a lot of situations occur recently, be it team members getting into disagreements or clients being a little bit ornery when normally they're just fantastic dreams to work with, those kind of things. So I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of bring up this topic. And there are a couple of exercises that we're going to do. So as always, I have a quick agenda. What is mental health? What affects it? Some early warning signs that there could be a mental health challenge occurring, why it matters, creating a safe workplace. This is specifically important for those of us who have employees. burnout, what it is, how it happens, things like that, supporting your team, leadership, Q&A, and of course, a discussion. So first poll question, I'll leave it up here. So why should you care about mental health in the workplace? A, to protect your teammates. B, to create a safe and productive environment. C, to make your life easier. D, because it's your legal responsibility. Or E, all of the above.
My
Okay.
poll went away and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. No,
No, it's back because I hadn't, now that we've got panelists in here, there's an extra spot I have to tick to allow panelists to vote. So yes. It's there. So if you voted at first, I don't think anybody voted before I took it away, but if you did, please re-vote again because it cleared everything as soon as I took it away.
Sounds like you're gonna have to meet Karma, Kim.
Karma is so cute.
Oh my God, I love the pictures.
All right, perfect. So we'll just give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We will end the poll and share the results.
All right, good. So all the reasons are good ones, but yes, it is all of the above. You are legally required to create a safe workspace. Having people be in good mental health definitely makes life easier. And really, I mean, your people, they work for you. They do the job day to day. They help with your company. So you really need, in my opinion, it's very important to support all the people you work with. So let's, where are my notes? Oh dear. Okay. Well, so this is a simple breathing exercise. I can't remember where I learned this. I think it might have been a Brene Brown book, but essentially it's just a breathing technique. And I've taught this to my team. I try to do it myself. I don't always succeed, but when something gets your hackles up, when something makes you angry, we all know it's happened with customers. I'm sure it's happened with people we work with. The technique is really simple. It's in through the nose for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, out through the mouth for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, and repeat. So let's just do it 3 times. I like to close my eyes when I do it and just help center, help remove some of that stress and get you kind of more in the present. So.
Well, and there's another one that I did learn that actually does work as well, that if you focus on your breathing and take your hand and just on your heart or just right over your chest at the same time.
It's funny, I look in the video and it looks like I have my eyes closed, but I actually do.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I should have been quiet while we were doing it. But yeah, there's that other one that
No
helps
worries.
as well too. Sorry.
But did people notice like kind of like an effect of just that simple, less than 30-second exercise? So what I tell my team is when somebody, for lack of a better term, when somebody pisses you off, take a beat, do this exercise, three cycles of this exercise. Think about your response. Think about, is it constructive? Is it productive? Is it helping us move in the right direction before responding? Years back, we had somebody do something that was inappropriate with a referral partner. It cost us dearly, and that person is no longer with KATA Accounting as a direct result of that. So this is just the definition from the US for mental health. It includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. And it's very important at every stage of life. And I think that we've seen this happen. I know personally, when I'm starting to get extra stressed, I get physical manifestations of that stress around my shoulder blades and on either side of the spine. Sometimes I'll get it in my neck and I won't be able to turn my neck properly. So things like this breathing exercise, the one done on a fairly regular basis, can really, really help. So there are a ton of factors affecting mental health, brain chemistry, drugs, physical trauma, hormones, family history. Life experiences can have a big impact and a forever lasting impact on mental health. And of course, outside influences. I think recently we've been seeing it a lot from, of course, COVID And I know the war in Ukraine, I have a friend who's really going through something with that. And I mean, just tax season for those of us who are still doing taxes. So does anybody have anything they want to add about another factor that perhaps they've seen really impact mental health for somebody they know or for themselves?
You know what? Pretty much anything. You know, you can sit there, like I used to sit there and open my emails. I'd grab my phone and I'd sit there and I'd open my emails in the morning. Bad thing to do, because I would come down here when I got an email from a certain person or whatever. I would walk in here in absolutely horrible mood, and that would just set me off. So, you know, so there's so many other things that can do that.
I was going to mention, just as Tanya started to say, that one thing is like having a routine that, especially as self-employed persons, like a lot of us are, having a routine that's like allowing yourself to have time for you before you give yourself time for anybody else. Like, I think I've already talked about this a lot with a few of you. Like, I started just the last week before the new year. So the last week of December, I started going to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday. So I've switched my work schedule. I realize that I'm privileged in a lot of ways. Like, I don't have children. I like work from home. There's a lot of things that I have that advantage to, but like, I don't start work until 10 o'clock now. My staff can come in at 10 o'clock. I'm fine with that. They can come in at 8 if they want, but they know that I'm not available until 10 o'clock. Sometimes I'll come down here at 9:15, 9:30, do my emails, but it's like, I have to shower. I have to go to the gym, shower, eat breakfast, spend a little bit of time with myself or my dog before I come here and I do anything for anybody. Because at that point, I'm like, okay, I can work until 6, 8, 9 o'clock at night if I want, but at least I took care of myself before anything else happened. And I know, like, this week I've gone back to the gym and I spent the last 2 weeks just wallowing in self-pity and feeling like absolute garbage. And I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't doing my routine and spending time for myself. I was in the office at 6 o'clock in the morning and working because deadlines and pressure. And I felt like I had to, but I was useless for 50% of the day because I wasn't taking care of myself. So like this week, even day 3 back at the gym, I feel great. Like I'm like, I've already closed, I'm so close to closing my rings. I just need to close like the stand and that's it. And like, then I'm done for the day. I'm like, yeah, but it gives you the dopamine and the things. And sorry, I could talk about it forever, but
Yeah.
Doing something for yourself before you are willingly giving like your entire self to everybody else for the rest of the day, especially as moms, as women, as self-employed persons, as you know, we give a lot. We people that give with our heart. And some of us don't think of ourselves as worthy of that, and therefore don't.
It's like one of the first rules of water rescue, right? Is you have to be alive to rescue the other person. You have to be in good health to support the people who you support. Big advocate for that. I was literally talking with Kim this morning about the morning routine, and mine is very different. I am terrible with my exercise, but luckily, because of the way our work is, I have a bit of lifestyle design options. So I take a 2-hour, I don't always take, but I schedule a 2-hour lunch. And that gives me ample time to actually make and eat a proper lunch away from my laptop, take the dog for a walk. And that walk is a great reset. Usually when I come back, I'm completely rejuvenated and recharged. And if we get a day like today, we're supposed to get horrible freezing rain. If it's like that, you know what, I'll probably skip the walk, but it'll give me the opportunity for some quiet time to do some organizational work, some planning, or something just where I can be focused on that without having to worry about anything else. All right, let's keep going. So some of the early warning signs, eating and sleeping too much or too little, withdrawing from people, activities, and normal situations. One thing I've seen happen is, especially with we'll call it the political divide in this country right now, is I've seen friendships that have been decades long get demolished on Facebook. And it's definitely a sign of mental health struggles, possibly on both people's parts, possibly a person lashing out. It's hard to really say because you don't have the same experience. Having low or no energy, some of that is going to be physical, but it can be an early warning sign as well. Feeling numb, nothing matters, unexpected aches and pains. We were speaking of that. Feeling helpless or hopeless, leaning too much on alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, feeling confused, forgetful, just off, feeling off. More arguments, yelling, fighting, big mood swings, behavior that can affect and permanently damage relationships. And then persistent thoughts or memories that are usually negative in nature that you just can't get rid of. And I know we've all been through this, that client who really peed us off, and, or, that person who still owes us from 6 months ago, those kind of things can really impact us on a long lasting thing. Thinking of harming yourself or others. I know I've definitely had that reaction before. Hearing voices, believing things that just aren't true, or the inability to just get through the day in a normal pattern. All of these can be a little early warning sign, or they can be a major symptom of. So it's something to keep an eye out. I have seen in situations where people literally fall asleep at their desk. And that was a symptom of something it turned out to be a drug abuse problem, but whatever. I mean, those kind of things can still have that mental health impact. So people with good mental health can realize their full potential and cope with stress. They can work productively and make meaningful contributions, and they can keep going. They can just keep going and going and going and going. The good old Energizer Bunny. So this is a place where I really wanted to kind of be interactive today. So in creating a safe work environment, it is our legal responsibility as employers. One thing that has really helped us is having policies and procedures. So how we behave, what your expectations are, the why behind the how, and very clearly outlined consequences of what could happen if. I try to lead by example. I know I'm not always successful. I do try to lead from a place of vulnerability. I am not perfect, and I don't expect my team to be perfect, but I do recognize that, leadership trickles down. Don't accept or excuse inappropriate behavior. This is something I've been guilty of so many times, accepting something that is not what you want it to be. And one thing that I've had to learn is to be more assertive in the way I deal with employees and with customers, because some customers will not want to follow your process at all. They want to have their hand held the entire way, and they're $160 invoice or something like that. You can't afford that kind of time investment in that customer and still have them be profitable. So those are things that really I need to improve on. Demonstrating and rewarding integrity. Something we believe in is mistakes are going to happen. Everybody's going to make a mistake. Where the character shows is how you handle that mistake, what you do. So our process is to identify the mistake, own up to the mistake immediately, let the customer or team member know that we're working on it, and then let them know how we've resolved that. And sometimes there's damage done. And sometimes, it's going to hurt. I don't know everybody's policies with paying penalties and interest on behalf of customers if you make a mistake. That is something we sometimes do. If it is 100% our fault, we will do it. If it is not 100% our fault, then we will, talk to the customer about why it happened and how to prevent it from happening in the future. And a big part of this is defining clear expectations and timelines. And that is something that we've actually started doing more and more and more aggressively. So we got customers who are pissed off at us because they didn't read their tax returns. They just signed, they didn't pay any of their installments. They're getting installment interest. We're like, why didn't you tell us about that? It's like, we gave you the tax return. We asked you to review it thoroughly. There's an entire page about this. You obviously didn't. So now we're adding other little measures in that won't guarantee that the customer is going to do it, but it removes any excuse of, well, you didn't tell me. Right? We're going kind of above and beyond. What's up, Tanya?
And I was just going to say, yeah, that what I do in cases like that, and this is where my our engagement letter or anything, you have to initial in certain places. And the reason being is, of course, I've been to court, not since I've been in bookkeeping, but in my previous life as insurance, I've been to court. I know what the judges look at, and they they feel that as the business owner, we have the knowledge, it is our responsibility. And whenever there is an opening possible, they will side with the little guy. So this is exactly it. So I have them go through, because somebody can say, oh, how does a reasonable person actually read all the terms and conditions on any app or anything you put on the phone? There's so many. A judge could potentially agree with somebody if it's too long. But if you have to put where they have to stop and initial after every section, now nobody can side with them, be like, you know what? You not only signed, but you also initialed. How could you not have read it? Really? So little things like that are great ways of doing that, to be able to get the focus. And then if somebody initials and signs without reading, you have done everything you could except for sit them down right in front of you and force them to listen, right? So
And I mean, we've all experienced that. Like, no matter how many times you tell somebody something, no matter how many times you say you need to do this, because some customers just don't. And in those cases, they have to be responsible for their own actions. And I mean, from my perspective, sorry, too bad, so sad. You were told 4 or 5 times, you didn't take that action. What do you want from us? Right? So, anybody else have any other things they do about creating a safe work environment?
I like to
nope,
sorry.
Go ahead, Amy. Go.
I don't know if I just lost my sound. No, I'm
No,
good.
I'm
Okay.
here.
Sorry, my headphones clicked off. And so I'm like, what just happened? I like, I hope I create like an environment. I know with the girls, I try to do a lot of like team building. Like we have weekly meetings. Well, we've kind of stopped right now just because a little bit of our team has shifted. And so we'll eventually get back into that. But I know for me that the one thing I really hated when I worked at an accounting firm is I always felt like I never heard when I did a good job. I always just heard about the errors and the things that I needed to fix. And sometimes it wasn't even like giving me the errors and then teaching me how to fix it and then letting me fix it. Sometimes it's like, this was wrong and we just moved on. And I know that I'm guilty of doing that sometimes because I realize that it's a time saver to a point, but I also realize that they're not going to learn. So I try really hard to not only like say, you did a really great job at this, or, you know, the shit sandwich too. Like you did great at this. This is what we need to fix. And you're awesome at this, because you build them up you constructively. So I try really hard
to
yeah. Well, it's true. But you know, just try really hard to also relate. One thing I try to do, and please tell me if I'm talking on my ass here, but pardon my language, sorry. But one thing I try to do is like, I see why you made this mistake, or I totally would have done the exact same thing. So letting them know that they don't need to feel dumb if this is, or like, you know, at your stage where I'm at, while I'm still learning, I totally would have done the same thing. So I see your logic, see where you're going. This is how we correct it. And really just providing that ability, that open door ability for coaching so that they feel comfortable to make mistakes, but they don't feel dumb doing it. And then, because I know that it's one of the reasons I left the accounting firms, is because I felt underappreciated and like I wasn't smart, because they never told me I did anything right, even though I know a lot of my work was right. But
you know what, that's a really good point. Accountant arrogance is a big problem. And part of that, the issue is they always want to be right. They'll always insist they're right, never admit that they're wrong. And I think that's a larger problem in society these days. You can't change your mind. And then not only that, but like beating people up for making mistakes while never acknowledging the positive aspects of what they're bringing to the table. So I try to give feedback on a very regular basis, pretty much about anything when I'm reviewing it. And that feedback will be both positive and negative. And I try to keep it in a relatively neutral tone, right? Like when somebody hits a home run, I let them know they hit a home run. When I rarely get files that are seriously screwed up. Usually they're just small little things like you forgot to record the tax installments here, so it's showing they have payable when actually they're in a refund position, or you forgot to update the numbers after you booked the tax provision. That was one that cropped up just the other day. Just little things like that. That again, exactly like Karen said, everything is a learning opportunity. Let's coach on it. What's up, Kim?
I was just going to add, that I think it's important to sort of highlight these things right in the very beginning, early stages of when you're hiring team members as well. And just as a couple of examples, I mean, majority of my team is remote and virtual, but I do occasionally have somebody that comes on site. And I, in the past, had not put in my ad, in my hiring ad, that my office was home-based, and went through the entire hiring process with somebody only to find out that they weren't comfortable to work in somebody's personal home. And so now when I'm hiring, I make sure that I note that right in my ad. And the other thing I've noted is that it's an animal friendly home with hypoallergenic animals, because I don't want somebody in here that's going to be stressed by my dogs begging for attention. So those are just a couple of examples, but right at the point of hiring, you know, I try to make it clear that what the expectations are going to be to meet deadlines and stuff, so people aren't getting stressed out by stuff like that after they start working.
Yeah. One thing that really helps us in that regard is the policies. It really was not a lot of work to create the policies. I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there you can plagiarize the heck out of, but it has to be right for your situation and so on. But we go through, when we're onboarding a new employee, we spend hours on that first week, several hours. So I think it's 4 hours on day one, then they have homework, 4 hours on day two, then they have more homework, and then they get into training for the remainder of the week. So it's really intense. It's a lot of hand holding and whatnot. But the first thing we go over is our policies, because we do have policies in place. And you know what they've helped? They've helped us identify when somebody has crossed a line. They've helped us clearly understand what we're going to do in specific situations, different things like that. So that's something that also helps us.
Well, and one thing that I want to mention is that there too, because we've experienced it ourselves, and unfortunately, Sandra's had to leave the call, so she's not on here to be able to talk about it. So I don't know, Leanne, if there's anything that you wanted to mention about this situation, because I know you're still on the call. But it's also important, I think, that you have as a leader, make sure that you have an open communication with your existing team when you do bring somebody new on, where they feel comfortable coming to you, and to those people who are on the call that are a part of the team, be comfortable going and pointing things out, because one person can make such a huge difference. And we had that, and we did not realize, because we didn't all talk. There was not that proper communication. And then once we did, it was like, wow. And it affected Sandra to the point where, and I'm sure she'd be fine me talking about this. And if not, well, she can give me heck afterwards. But to the point where she was like, you know what? I don't even want to go on any of the conferences, because she just wanted to be removed from it. It really changed the way that she felt about here. And after that person was gone, her and I talked about it, and she says, yeah, that was why it had that much of an impact. And I don't know the reason being, like, there was somebody that I had a relationship with outside of work, so maybe that's what made it feel uncomfortable. But it wasn't until we kind of started talking that this person was kind of pitting us all against each other, really, and they were really playing a manipulative game. But just to be sure that the rest of the team feels comfortable pointing something out if there's something wrong, because that one person. So I don't know, Leanne, is there anything else you wanted to add about that?
I think, like, I often refer to it as one, like, that wrong one person, that wrong personality can be like a cancer within your organization. So I think it kind of comes back to, as well, I think it is okay to tell your existing staff that you have a history with, and who have done good work for you, and you certainly don't want them to leave because you've hired someone new. I think you got to make sure they know it's safe, that if somebody comes in and this isn't feeling the way it's supposed to feel for our team, our culture, our organization, like, it's okay to come to, the top level with that.
Yeah. Having that open door really helps. And sometimes people are afraid to approach that. That's something that I'd like to get in place as we grow, is a way of reporting where the person has the opportunity to report to more than one person. So immediately, one of the things that we do have is one of our other team members, if somebody ever feels any degree of sexual harassment or anything like that, they can go to her instead of to me. if that's what they want to do. I mean, ultimately, it's going to end up coming to me anyway, but it just might add a degree of comfort and something that we can action about. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So burnout. Burnout is a syndrome that's the direct result of chronic stress that has not been managed. 3 characteristics: energy depletion, exhaustion, negativism, cynicism, or just going through the motions, like that kind of numb feeling and just going through the motions, and reduced professional efficacy. And I've seen this before, definitely with CPAs, who it's like they go through the motions, they tick the boxes, and they don't think critically, which is why you hire a CPA in the first place. If you wanted somebody to do data entry, you'd buy a computer program. So these are some areas to keep an eye out. I've noticed myself for these things in the past. Now, luckily, I haven't seen this out of myself in a while, but I know it's happened, especially early on the journey, 2014, 2015. I went through some of these things, and they were challenging, especially as a one-man show. Just some stages of disillusionment. This was an interesting part of the US government mental health website as well. So enthusiasm, that's usually when you get the new employee, they're excited, they want to do a good job, they want to find their place in the company, they really want to be a part of the team. Stagnation, when they just kind of get bogged down in the details, they start going through the motions. And then frustration, and that's where you really see it start bubbling to the surface. When they're getting upset with people or getting snipey or a little bit, snarky when it might not be merited. And then apathy, when they're just going through the motions and they just don't care. They're showing up to get a paycheck and that's it. And I don't ever want to have an employee feel that way for our company. But of course, it's going to be an ongoing challenge because every employee is a different person, different personality. And, it's going to be a challenge to make sure that people don't get to that apathetic part. One thing I do find is when frustration occurs, it's usually because the person cares. So if you can pivot that from being frustrated to being positively contributing, there's a real opportunity for success there. I'm not going to get into it today, but we're trying to implement some communication tools that give everybody in the company a voice. Because one thing you don't want is somebody coming on to every team huddle and complaining, because that puts everybody in negative mood. It brings the entire mood of the room down. So if that can be avoided, and it can be like, listen, not the time and place. I want to know what you're thinking. I want you to put it in this document. I want to put you in that document. We're going to schedule a meeting to go over this on this date, and it's going to be actionable. And that it helps them get it out, but it also hopefully helps keep them from bringing it up every time there's a group meeting, because you really don't want it coming out in front of a customer if you're meeting with a customer. So as people move down the list, you could see changing sleep patterns, changing substance usage, low self-esteem, hopelessness, or physical manifestations of stress in pain. So these are some things to keep in mind. And I think there's days and there's clients where we could have different levels on this, right? Like I know personally, I have some clients I'm very enthusiastic about, and I have some clients I'm very frustrated about. And I'm sure my entire team feels the same way. So, I mean, this might not be for the overall job, but it might be for specific situations.
I'm sorry I've made your lives difficult, Jonathan. No, just kidding.
Oh my God, Tanya.
I know, I'm the client from hell, right?
I was going to say, I think Jonathan loves looking for, I think he looks forward to my phone calls. Like he's always prompt answering my phone. Like when I say, can we talk? He's like, yeah. So yeah. I was like, I'm going to say I'm a good client.
As a general rule, if I can answer the phone, I will answer the phone. And if I can't answer the phone, I'll call back as soon as I can. But I'm a social person. I like to talk. Yeah. And Amy and Tanya and Kim, that it's not always business. Sometimes we're going off in the left field, and yeah, anyway. So some more things that can be done to support your team is promoting a healthy work-life balance. So some of the stuff we've seen from our team, we saw one of our team members go and live on a resort for a month during COVID because the resort was for international tourists and they weren't accepting anybody. So they cut these deals for locals. So she was able to like essentially rent a condo there, and she went and, you know, she had her afternoons free and she worked in the evening, she worked in the morning, and she really enjoyed life for a while there. We have one employee who takes Wednesdays off, and Wednesday is his hobby day where he gets to deal with his hobbies, do his errands, things like that. But he's working Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, and he's getting his work done. I take a 2-hour lunch break so that I can go for a walk. I'm probably going to adjust my schedule again when we get into fishing season so that I can be out in the boat a bit more. Encouraging open communication and creating a safe space. It's tough to do. It is very tough to do. And you don't always want complete open communication, because sometimes that if somebody's coming from a place of frustration and anger, that can have the opposite effect from your intent. That's where creating a safe space is really important. Yes, communication needs to be open, but people need to feel safe in that space when the communication is happening. Monitor workload. We're having this conversation every single week. We're asking about a win, we're asking about a challenge from the past, and we're asking about the rest of the week and how things are shaping up. Our policy is if you're going to run into trouble, we're here to support, but you need to let us know at least in that huddle if you think you're going to have trouble like next week, so that we can step up and support you. Provide emotional and mental health support. We do provide benefits for all of our employees once they become off probation. Embrace and encourage professional development. Tanya and Kim, you'll be happy. I think and Jan, you'll be happy. I think we have a couple who are going to be doing their CPB exams this year. So that's very exciting. And, you know, encouraging the training, like with the QuickBooks Online Advanced, things like that. Be authentic and encourage other people to be genuine. Two-facedness doesn't help. Preaching one thing and then acting another way, it gets pretty obvious pretty quick, and it damages trust. So it's something to keep in mind. Are there any other things that people do to support their teams?
Well, and I just wanted to mention too that as somebody who has a very open environment, a very flexible environment, I think it's been really important, and I've specifically and strategically built the team around, and this might sound a little discriminatory, but I wanted mothers with young children because they would appreciate the benefits a little bit better in the flexibility. But the one thing on that is to really mention is that, like Jonathan, you said you're taking longer lunches, you're taking this, you're taking that. I think it's really important if you want your team to have the same type of loyalty to you and, you know, the longevity to you and your company, give them the same benefits. Don't be like, I get to do this because I'm the boss and you guys don't, that's been really important to me. That again, I want people that will appreciate that. So, you know, that was one of the things, like Sandra had another interview with another place with us at the same time. And I'm like, go to that interview, take your time to think about it, go to that interview and see what the difference is. Because with me, I can promise you, when you're sick, I don't want you here, but I also don't want you to have to sit there or worry about it, you know, about things. So if you can do extra hours at home, you can do it home. Stay home with your child. Don't worry about it. Just, you know, the weather's bad. You're going to be able to have that ability to work from home, to have that better work-life balance instead of just being, you know, hey, I'm the boss, I get this, you guys get nothing. So again, really think about the type of environment you want to foster. And as you said, lead by example, but also make sure to include all of those same benefits to the whole team, because I, you know, don't think that I'm speaking out of turn when I say unless I do something to screw something up, I've got, you know, Sandra and Leanne are lifers. I can still do something to mess it up and change their mind. But as long as we continue with this, to give them that same flexibility. And also just wanted to point out here too, is that Kim put, like, what happens if you don't have somebody to go to? I think that's really important, that as the boss or as the company owner, you know, if you don't have a business coach or a life coach or a counselor, and they might be great, but they don't fully understand have a support person. Like, I mean, there's a ton of people that I know that I can call. Amy is one person that I know. Amy and I can talk to each other. Sherry Lee, I talk to her all the time. Kim is another person. Like, Galit is another. There are, dozens of people that I know that I could call, and I hope that they know they could call me if they already haven't, just to be able to do that and talk and be like, hey, we're in the same position. What can I do? And vent, because sometimes just knowing that you've got somebody else in the same position and the same understanding is better. And they might be able to either help you or just listen and just be empathetic, something like that. But somebody, again, that you've got a safe place that you know that you can have that conversation with, which is why I'm so open on all of these calls. And Karen mentioned that too. And thank you, Karen. But that's exactly why I'm so open on these, because a lot of people don't talk about it. And when I realize that people don't talk about things like that, the stress that comes from it, and the way that I look at everything that I've gone through in my life, whether it be the career wise or anything personally, if I can take that and help somebody else, then it was worth going through. If I can help make somebody else's life better, and that comes from talking. So anybody on here, even if I don't know you that well at all, I absolutely would take time. But we've got friends and family in these communities that we have. Use that. So sorry,
Agreed.
that's all I wanted to say, is that there are people out there, and yeah.
You got to fill your cup. And for me, like, these webinars, they force me to think about things. They force me to write them down. They force me to come up with ideas. And quite often, some of it's from stuff we've done. Some of it's, oh, hey, let's put that on the roadmap. But this and the Friday afternoon call are like Friday afternoons. I've been missing them a lot lately because of deadlines and whatever. But it is very, very valuable time spent in my mind. Even though I might not be working on a file and I might not be getting something billed or revenue positive or whatever, it fills my cup, gives me an opportunity to vent and learn from other people.
And Jessica, as one example, she
Yeah.
actually used to say, like, she's got that as her networking time. And when she started coming on, she said that it used to take her until halfway through Friday evening to actually wind down and enjoy her family time. Now, this is her wind down time. So it really helps her with those calls. Just here it is. When she is done, she can go, and she's gained hours of personal valuable time with her family to help her mental health, just by having those calls and those groups and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, I'm going to keep plugging along here because we do want to get to the last poll question before we hit the top of the hour. So leadership matters. It really, really does. There's a saying, don't follow the money, follow the boss. And it really does make a big difference. I have bosses from history who are amazing, and I have bosses from history who are horrible. And, if I was going to go back to work for somebody, I would look for a good boss over good money. That would be my choice. So some things, being kind is often more important than being right, especially when it comes to accounting and tax. There can be two people arguing a point and both can be correct. And this is something that, like, where you can encounter accountant arrogance, and it can be very difficult to deal with. But sometimes being kind is more important than being right. Lead with vulnerability and with empathy. Try and understand the other person's perspective. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. Recognize that everyone is human, is going to make mistakes, even you. Something we preach a lot, or I preach a lot, and try to embrace, is the idea of extreme ownership. That is, if anything goes wrong, everyone is responsible. Everyone had a role to play in that. And that is something that, when we had some of these things happen a few weeks back, it had to be addressed, because I screwed up, and that's what I led with. This is what I did wrong. This is what I need to do better, and so on. So, it really helps people go, okay, well, if the boss can say that, then okay, like, I guess I can make a mistake too. Understand that change causes stress. Tanya is talking about the example of hiring a person. Manage the pace of change. Take care of yourself. If you're not healthy, you can't help anybody else. Reassure your team, keep the communication open and regular, and don't always be about work. on yesterday morning, we spent an hour and a half playing Go Nuts for Donuts, which is a card game that's on Board Game Arena. And it's really, you know, it gets laughter going. It builds a corporate culture, and it builds a sense of teamwork and that we're in this together and things like that. A lot of people, when they come on, they're like, why are we doing this waste of time? Well, I guess I'm getting paid for it, so I'll show up. Then kind of that was their attitude. But the more it happens, I think the more they understand. And I really, to give you an idea from a labor standpoint, that game time costs about $150 every time we do it. And that doesn't include the subscription for Board Game Arena. That's just in labor costs. And I think it's money very, very well spent. Stay focused, encourage your team to stay focused, involve people in decision-making and change management processes. But when you make a decision, you have to be assertive about it. So, you know, if somebody doesn't get what their suggestion was, you can't have them keep bringing it up every 5 seconds. One thing we've heard, well, you know, if we had an office, then and I have to kill it. I have to be like, that's dead. It's not going anywhere. We are a virtual firm. You knew that when you came here. We have employees in 6 different cities. We can't have a virtual office. We can't have a physical office. Either that, or we're going to open it up here and you're going to be fired, right? Like, come on. Anyway, be there for people, be there for your team, and be there for yourself, and make work be somewhere where people want to be. Any other just comments about leadership, things that people like to do or think can be useful or helpful? We'll move on. Hopefully we'll have a little discussion after. So taking care of yourself, understanding your strengths and weaknesses. This is something that is hard to do in the moment. Sometimes you have to sit back, you have to meditate, you have to think about it, you have to do some inner reflection before you can actually understand how your strengths and weaknesses play into a situation. Be kind with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Avoid the use of negative language. I'm stupid, I'm a failure, those kind of, don't use that negative self-talk. It doesn't help you. I'll often use the story of the 2 wolves. And if you don't know that, I can talk about that a bit at the end. This is something that Tanya literally just brought up a few minutes ago. Work with a coach, mentor, colleague, or somebody on self-improvement. You have to have someone you can talk to. Create and maintain boundaries. This is something important that people often fail to do. You know, if the customer's calling you at 10 o'clock at night, don't answer the phone, because they're going to expect you to answer the next time they call you at 10 o'clock at night. Pay attention to the basics. I know I need to do better with exercise, but I'm doing pretty good with the sleep, the water, the eating, and the movement. Again, practice positive self-talk, manage your social connections. If somebody is an anchor, and not in a good way anchor, or somebody brings a lot of negativism to your life, maybe you need to limit the contact with that person. And unfortunately, sometimes that person can be a family member, which can make it really difficult. But I know personally, I've had to do that a few points in my life. And once those boundaries are established, it hurts and it's painful to go through, but people will understand. And find an outlet and make time to relax. So that's my plan this evening. I'm playing my nerdy card game online with my buddies, who are also in 3 different cities. But it's something that I can do that will distract my mind from work. It is intellectually taxing, but you know, it is a good relaxing activity. So one more exercise I want to do, and I learned this one just a few weeks ago that was awesome. So take your, I'm going to start with my right hand. Stick it under your butt, and then take your left hand and pull with the opposite. If you have a chair that doesn't have an arm, it's better. But you can do things, so like I like to hold for at least 20 seconds, preferably 30. And you can do things like pull forward a bit or pull backward a bit, and then do the other side. And what this is doing is this is releasing the tension that goes right down your back and through your traps and your neck. So it's getting right in. Oh, I just cracked. It's getting right into that spot that always drives me nuts between the shoulder blade and the spine. So it's a really good one. And that, yeah, I saw Jen just do the other one where you pull your head forward, or you can push your head up. Yeah, those are some good things. But I learned that one from an RMT just like literally, I think it was about 4 weeks ago. And it's awesome when you start to get that really bad pain up here. Take a few minutes and do that. It's definitely worth it. All right, so we've gotten to our last poll question. What is the most important thing you can do to support mental health in your organization? And this is a very subjective answer. There's really no right answer. Ensure everyone has an equal workload. Have policies and procedures about behavior in the workplace. Lead by example. Have benefits that cover mental health concerns, and encourage boundary setting. So
Where's
I think this
the
would be
all
a
of
good
above?
I
answer
was
this
just going to
time?
say the same thing. We need all of the above.
We always have an all of the above.
I'm trying to get away from that because all of the above is usually the right answer. And this is subjective, right? Like this isn't one where any one answer is correct or any one answer is incorrect. I could talk about what I think is, but I think some other people might have a different opinion. Oh, and yeah, I have to hit the submit button.
All right, so I'll count down before I close at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll end, and there's the results.
So I think most people are on the same wavelength. Lead by example really is what it comes down to. I mean, if you're going to be angry, upset, negative, guess what? Nobody's really going to want to be around you. It's going to be tough to lead a team. All right, well, that brings us to the end. This was a good one, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It was Glenn Close, what mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. I have to say I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of friends and including many people on this call who we can have really frank conversations. And, like sometimes it's about a shared customer and, sometimes it's about feedback either way. Sometimes it's just about, I don't know, the sky being gray today or something like that. But having those groups can really help. And I'm very lucky as a man. I think I'm definitely an outlier there because I have a really amazing group of male friends who we can talk about things like dealing with a parent with dementia, dealing with the emotions of losing family members or whatnot in a wartime situation or in COVID or things like that. So, I understand that for myself, but I just wanted to ask, of course, here's my contact info. Are there any questions, comments, other things people want to add about this subject matter? And I'd be curious as to what do you think has the biggest impact, positive or negative, on your mental health? All right, I'll share first. For me, it's money. It's money, and it's managing cash flow. I grew up in a scarcity mindset. We can't afford this, we can't afford that. And now, I see money going through our bank account in a month that, my mom used to make in a year. And it's really alien for me to have these feelings and experiences, but I'm also like, well, we can't spend anything. We can't spend anything. And so sometimes it becomes an impediment to my personal growth and to the growth of the company. So that's one thing that affects my mental health big time.
Yeah, money's huge. Money's
Yeah.
huge. With me, it's more about, I think the biggest thing that impacts myself business wise, anyway, when I look at the business, it's about the relationships and the communication with, the team and clients. So the team is great. We've been through a lot together as a team because Sandra, out of the three of us, Sandra joined us last and she's this year, she's hit 5 years. So, it is quite a bit of time together. So we're really comfortable with that. But, when clients are treating us badly, you know, or something like that. And I tend to react, and thank goodness that, you know, they're there to support me, because like just today, an email came in from somebody who's not even a client. And it was just a pretty nasty email. And I'm like, I want to respond. And Sandra's like, Tanya, she says, it's not going to do you any good. It's just going to get frustrating. That's just the way the person are. Just delete it and move on. But that frustrates me when people treat them badly and they take it. So I know by the time I hear about it, they've taken a lot. And I'm just like, you know what? It's only money. Let's fire them, because thankfully we've been able to put a lot of money aside into the bank account, so that I don't have to have those money worries and go, oh my God,
That fear.
I can't fire this client because now how am I going to make payroll? And so that would have been a few years ago, that would have been the first thing. But now I've been able to get over that, and there's so much in our savings account, so I know we're going to be fine. So it's like, nope, let's fire that client and take our time to find somebody new, because I know we've got 6 months worth of our bills, or 3 months, or whatever it is, worth of our bills and payroll sitting there in our account. So thankfully I've been able to, you know, to release that fear, and now it's a different frustration with the clients. But you know what? It's, you can't pay us enough to deal with that type of crap. And so it's like, you know, as soon as I hear that they've been treating the girls really badly, it's like, you know what? You're out of here.
You know what we found makes a big difference too is phone calls, because it's really easy to be nasty through the anonymity of a computer screen.
Yes.
It's a lot harder to do that when you're speaking to somebody on the phone. And not only that, by having those phone calls, it deepens the relationship between the two people speaking, so that customer is less likely to behave in that manner the next time.
And is it habit forming, right? Is that the way the client is, or is it an unusual situation?
Yes.
And, you know, because if that's not the way the client usually is, maybe there's something more going on to them, in which case maybe it's, again, a candid phone call to them and have a discussion or something. But if that is becoming a habit, that's a different scenario, right?
Yeah.
So,
And what's driving that habit too could be a good question, right? Like, for instance, I know we had one customer who has been absolutely lovely. She's amazing. She's an amazing entrepreneur in general, but over the last few months, she's been extra aggressive and so on. And part of that is the adult baby. You know what I mean? Like, she has her daughter and her son-in-law and her grandchild living with her now. That was a situation she didn't have before. And she's essentially financially supporting them. So she's under financial stress as well. And she's looking for outlets. She can't take it out on the baby. She can't take it out on her kid. So she's taking it out on whoever else. And once we realized what was happening, we were able to talk to her about some things that she was kind of concerned about. So one of them was, why am I paying for HubDoc when QBO receipt capture is out there? Or why did my prices go up so much year over year? In the end, it was actually 5%. It was nothing. But like, you know, those kind of things where you're going to get challenged on stuff because somebody is feeling frustration for another place in their life. And I know I'm guilty of that too. I'm still fighting with Equitable Bank over $200. It's just, I should just let it go. But anyway. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I know a few people have had to jump off, and they've
we went a bit long today.
Some good positive notes in there, and you know, some good thoughts, and I think this was really well needed. This topic actually wasn't scheduled for a few more months, and Jonathan was like, you know what, I think we need to bring it up. So
yeah, and actually, you know, I might do the same with next month's topic. I'm gonna go review our schedule, but there was an amazing blog post by Google that I'd like to turn into, adapt to how we use it, and then kind of present that to everybody. Maybe that'll be a couple of months away. Who knows? We'll have a look. But yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tanya.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and for those that were, you know, had something to contribute. Absolutely. Glad you felt safe to contribute. Nice, safe place. And those who didn't, it's okay. You have your reasons, and maybe everything is awesome. Maybe you're just taking and learning things. Again, no stress, no pressure on anything. So perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.